Dentistry and General Radio Network presents
the Independent Dental Practice Podcast with Dr. Sonny Spera. In this episode,
welcome to the Independent Dental Practice Podcast. Dr. Sonny Spera. Today, my guest, Madalina Ivan. She is from Romania, and she's going to walk us through her journey into practice ownership. Not the normal practice ownership, because she spent her time getting her dental license in Romania, coming to the U.S., some of the challenges with getting work visas and green cards, married a wonderful man, and he was a inspiration for her to own her own practice. I think you're going to really like to hear what she has to say, and this is one of the series of shows that we're going to talk about female-owned dental practices. And I think the message is it can be done. It should be something that's tangible and real. Okay, thank you all. If you like the episode, please share it with your friends. Click like, click subscribe. If it's something you don't like or you want to hear something different or tweak something, please reach out to me. My email is sonnyspera@gmail.com or independentdentalpractice@gmail.com. Or you can text or call me at my cell phone, 607-624-2962.
Dr. Madalina Ivan and her journey to practice ownership. A discussion with Dr. Sonny Spera.
Welcome to the Independent Dental Practice Podcast. Dr. Sonny Spera. I plan on starting a series of conversations and interviews with female entrepreneurs, female owners, dentists. And I met some of the most wonderful people, and I can't wait to put this together. Trying to make the idea that a woman owning a dental practice is a reality, and we're trying to put names and faces to it. So our first guest in this line is Dr. Madalina Ivan. Okay. Let me give you a little background on her. Dr. Ivan is a dedicated general dentist with over 15 years of experience in transforming smiles and improving lives through compassionate, high-quality dental care. She is the proud owner of Dental Clinique, a state-of-the-art dental practice located in Arlington Heights, Illinois, where cutting-edge technology meets personalized treatment. Originally from Romania, Dr. Ivan is an international dental graduate who pursued and achieved the American dream. Her journey is a testament to resilience, passion, and a deep commitment to her patients' well-being. When she's not in the office, Dr. Ivan enjoys cooking for her family, exploring new countries, painting by numbers, and diving into a good book. You can connect with Dr. Ivan on Facebook, Instagram, or visit www.dentalclinique.us to learn more. Please welcome Dr. Ivan. Madalina, how are you?
Hello, Dr. Spera. Thank you for inviting me to be one of your first guests for this podcast. I'm doing very well, thank you.
So, I'm going to start with, you said you're from Romania. Talk a little bit about your upbringing. How was life in Romania?
Life in Romania was a little bit hard. I was born during the communist era before 1989 in a family that was living pretty well at that time. My father is a veterinarian and my mom is an accountant. I have a sister who currently is an attorney in Romania. They all live over there. And we had a fairly good life. Right before the revolution in 1989, there wasn't much food in the stores. And we were able to get meat and get everything else we needed to live a comfortable life. After 1989, things got a little bit better and worse at the same time. Better because we were more open to the democracy and more open to the West, but worse in the sense that there were still some remnants of the communist era and a lot of nepotism. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to come to the United States. I didn't like that I had to bribe left and right to get what I needed to be.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So I decided to become a dentist because I didn't want to be a doctor. I had only two options, either a doctor or a dentist. And I didn't want to spend half of my life in the hospital.
So let me ask you, why did you only have two options? Was your career path determined prior because of the schooling system, or what happened?
Something like that. My dad was a doctor. My mom is an accountant. And because she was always bringing work at home and she had to calculate all the numbers and everything, I didn't really like that. I didn't enjoy that. She was very stressed out at work. And I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. And around when I was 16, 17, we started looking around and asked different professionals what would be the best career path. So I went to my dentist and she said, this is a very tough physical job. At that time, the dentists, they used to stand. And she said, yes, your back will hurt, your hands will hurt, your feet will hurt, but you will finish, once you finish school, you will be able to start working right away. Now, for the medical doctors, we all know they have to go through residency, and that's for 4, 5, 6 years.
Oh my.
And I really didn't want to do that.
Okay.
So I decided, okay, dentistry is for me. I can deal with the physical aspect. I was 16, 17. And
You did your schooling in Romania then, the dental school?
yes.
Okay.
I did the dental school in Romania. And I'm going to start right here with the path to ownership, because the people that I met at that time, and are still currently with me, actually shaped my future and actually helped me become owners. So one person that really helped me a lot is my husband.
Okay.
I met him in my first year of dental school in Romania, and he was in medical school. I wanted to go to Bucharest. Bucharest is the capital of Romania.
Gotcha.
And I failed 2 times before I got into the city that I was supposed to. And that was Iași. And I guess I was not supposed to be there, because I succeeded. The second year, I succeeded in Iași. And that's where I met my husband. And from there, again, at some point, I was faced with the decision of staying with him or moving to Bucharest back again, where my parents wanted to study. So I chose him. During the time that we were together, all these 6 years, in the second or third year, he came with the idea from one of his friends that he wanted to move outside of Romania and move to the United States.
Okay. So he had the idea. Okay.
Yes, he had the idea.
All right.
And then me looking around me and seeing the society, how it was there, and all my friends and my classmates and everything, I said, you know what, I'm coming with you.
Big step, right? You're leaving your family.
I was in my third year of dental school when I made that decision. And actually, we started looking at on the internet, which was barely starting in Romania, at different pathways for me to get to be a dentist here and for me to be a physician here.
Yep.
So at that time, every year during dental school, I had a scholarship because I had good grades. And I used all my money to buy different materials for TOEFL, which is the English test. I bought materials for GRE, which is the graduate record examination, and other materials for part 1. So I learned how to do it. It took me several years to collect all the information and start studying. I was studying at the same time as I was studying for my exams in Romania, passing my exams there. I never told anybody that I wanted to come to the United States. Only my roommates knew that I wanted to come here.
Okay.
I passed my TOEFL, I passed my GRE. I didn't take the part 1 in Romania because I had to finish my thesis and everything for graduation of dental school. He graduated and he came to the United States as a PhD student. And I stayed behind because I had to finish my school. Then he came back and we got married, and I had everything ready. I had all my tests passed, and I had everything to apply to a graduate program in the United States. I couldn't do it from Romania because I had to apply for a PhD, and I didn't want to go through 5 years of PhD. I wanted to just do master's, which is 2 years. So he got in first, and we went to Philadelphia. He actually went to Philadelphia first and got into the PhD. I came along after the wedding, and I was accepted by the professor that he was working for the master in biology. So I have a master in biology.
Which, 2 years? 2 years in the United States?
2 years. And I completed in 2 years. I finished right on time. During the time that I was preparing for my master and doing my research, I also studied for my part 1. And I was also teaching like a graduate student, foreign graduate student, teaching and studying. And I got a really good score, was 91. After that, I started applying to all the schools that I could get into. As an international student and with nobody to help me here in the United States, it was really hard to find a cosigner for the student loan.
Student loan, okay, for the financing portion, okay.
So
now,
I got it.
You said you took part 1, so does that mean you have a Romanian dental license at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Even though you didn't complete the 6 years in Romania.
I finished.
Oh, you finished 6 years there?
Yes, I finished.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't follow that. Okay, I thought you left after 4. Okay. So you finish your 6, you come to the United States, you do your master's for 2 years, then you apply to dental school, or what happens?
At the same time as I was doing my master, I was studying for the part 1 exam. And with those results, I applied to several dental schools, and I got accepted to 2, one being University of Pennsylvania
Yep.
And then University of Colorado, where I graduated from in 2009, December.
Okay, so you decided to go to Colorado. Now your husband was in Philadelphia, so the move to Colorado, no problem, or a little
No,
tricky?
no,
No.
no.
Now
So
where is he at? Now he has his 6 years of medical school from
yes,
Romania, so he's doing
yes,
the same thing. He's like
yes,
getting a master's and then he's going to the foreign trained medical school.
yes, yes. So we were both studying at the same time, me for dental school and him for his USMLE programs, 1, 2, 3 parts exams. And he passed them all, and he got accepted to a residency program in Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
So I started dental school, Colorado, January of 2008, and the program was from January to December, so 2 years. And he finished one more, he switched from PhD to master's, and he got 3 years of master's, finished after me, and started the residency program in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, so his residency program was in
And it's in internal medicine.
internal medicine. So did you go to Portland, Oregon for those 2 years?
Yes, I did. I did. Every month I was traveling for 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you didn't. You stayed in Colorado.
Yes.
Okay, but yours was 2 years, his was three. Well, take me through. So you graduate from Colorado.
Yes.
Do you then get a job?
I moved to Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon, I tried to find a job. As a foreign student, I had an F1 visa. That's a student visa.
Gotcha.
And every time you change universities, you have to change the visa as well. After that, they gave me like a card for about a year that allowed me to find employment. So I was trying to find a job in Portland, Oregon. Everybody was asking me if I have papers. Papers for them means green card.
Gotcha.
Which I didn't have at that time. I needed the H-1B visa, which is the working visa. So I couldn't find a job that would give me an H-1B visa over there. A friend of mine, also from school, she moved to Chicago, and she told me to come here because there will be more employers that would sponsor me for a visa, a working visa.
Okay.
So that's how I got to Chicago. I had to leave my husband again before he finished his.
So how long did you look for a job? Was it 6 months? How long did you look?
4 months.
4 months. So 4 months. That's a plenty of effort, right? You did everything you could. So now you moved to Chicago. What's that look like when you get to Chicago?
When I got to Chicago, I got hired by a big corporation. It's called Dental Dreams. I was here by myself, and they were expecting me to be very fast, which for a recent graduate is not possible. When I worked for them for about 4 months, they fired me.
Because you couldn't keep up to the quota that they wanted to.
Exactly. They fired me, and I think that was the best thing they could have done for me.
What did you learn in the 4 months?
All right. So I learned that I was working like crazy hours. I was working 11 to 7, and that is a very inconsistent schedule to allow for a good life balance. Okay, it's not possible. You can't do groceries. you can't do anything during the time that you're working.
Do you have any children at this point?
No.
Okay.
No.
But you are married.
I was married.
What else did you learn? What other things did you? Maybe you could learn what you didn't want to do.
Most of the things that I learned as I didn't want to. My assistants, they were all with no experience. We were sharing instruments with the whole facility. There were like 4 or 5 doctors, different experience levels. The front desk, they were also under pressure to put a lot of people to increase production. We saw a lot of Medicaid patients, and we had a quota per patient to make production. And every week we had one of the bosses from Dental Dreams come in and verify how much of the production we did per patient. So I was always below. The reason being, it's not that I couldn't do it. There was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I received 3 patients. At 4 o'clock, I received 5 patients. So how can you do that? It was just impossible to work like that with unskilled assistants and with not enough time.
Okay, so you're there 4 months.
Yeah, I was there for months.
What happens next?
Then they were sponsoring me the visa again, like I said. And when they fired me, they canceled the visa.
Sure. Yeah, they're not going to make it easy for you, right?
No,
you
of course not.
in their minds, you cost them money. You now have a situation. You got to find a job, and you got to find the visa, right?
Yeah, and it happened to me in about a week.
Wow, you're lucky.
Yes, I think I am. I found through the manager at the Dental Dreams in that location, I found them my new employer, and because the manager used to work for that doctor. So she became my new employer in about a week. She said, okay, I'll give you the visa. And I said, I'm going to take care of all the paperwork. and you don't have to do anything. You just sign that you give me the visa.
Sounds shaky. Go ahead.
So she did, because she needed a doctor for the second location in Chicago.
So this is a solo doctor? Is that what's happening? Is it?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
a single
Private practice.
private practice, female, did you say? She?
Yes, female.
So you're going to work for a female owner
Yes.
who has opened a satellite or just a second office? What would you call it?
It was like a satellite office.
Okay. How did that come about for her? Did she just open it up or did she buy some other office?
No, it was an existing one that she had, and she was running two at the same time. So she needed somebody to be in that location.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did that practice look like? Was it heavy volume, high Medicaid? What did the practice look like compared to what you heard?
High Medicaid and not in a very good neighborhood in Chicago.
Okay. Sketchy neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It didn't go very well. Eventually, the practice got flooded. It had to be closed. She brought me into her main practice. And now my husband was able to move to Chicago area. So now he was the same as me, like I said, international doctor. So he got hired by a hospital that was about an hour away from where we lived. And the hospital gave him the visa and also applied for green card. So the moment we had to wait about 5 years for the green card to be approved, to go through the paperwork. So in the meantime, I was having my own H-1B visa and he had his own. And I was working part-time for this doctor and I had my babies. I had 2 children.
So during this scenario, he moves out. I'm just trying to get the timeline now. He moves out. So you're continuing to work in this woman's one office for about 2 years and you go through 2 pregnancies while you're working there?
Yes, 2
Okay.
to 3 years, I think.
So you got some stability at this point, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So what are the key things that you're learning in this practice?
She was very nice. We maintained a very good relation. Even these days, she's my patient. So she allowed me, when I was in the first practice in Chicago, she allowed me to run it as if it was my own. That's what she said. So I started implementing like morning huddles and monthly meetings and inventory and scheduling and everything that I wanted. I felt like I wanted to do in my own practice. The only thing that I felt that it didn't allow me to move forward into all this was I didn't have the power of decision. I was an associate. The staff knew I was an associate, and I didn't have the power of decision, the power of firing or hiring.
That's an important point, hiring and firing, but where did you pick up the skills to understand, like you talked about, inventory, morning huddle? Where did you pick that up? Because you didn't really practice for a long time anywhere of substance.
No, but I was paying attention to everywhere I worked, how things were done.
So way more than just the dentistry, you're paying attention to how the sterilization goes,
yes,
how the computer is handled, the
yes,
flow of the office,
yes,
and you're making notes, do's and don'ts, right?
Yes, yes.
So in that first 4-month horror show that you worked at, right, you still learned a bunch of those things in spite of having an overwhelming burden of patients, right?
Yes, and I also like to read a lot. So I was reading about in different magazines about practice management, how to run a practice, because I knew I wanted to become an owner. Ever since I was in Romania, my dream, my burning desire was to become a dentist in the United States.
So let me ask you this. Your dad being a veterinarian, and there's definitely parallels to dentistry, did he put that seed in your mind too, that you want to be your own boss, you want to run your own ship? Ever?
No,
Really? Who did?
It's actually my husband. He still helps me out, but now I kind of run it on my own.
Okay. So you're doing that, but you're still working for her in her primary office. How long does that continue?
So that continues for about 3 years with the doctor, with the female doctor.
So 3 years, and you have the 2 kids as well, right?
Yes.
So now you've got 2 young children, and what's your next step?
Next step was to get the green card. So the green card was approved in 2014. I remember it was Valentine's Day. And I thought that, oh my God, that's the best gift I could get. I told my boss that I'm going to quit in about 2 weeks and I'm going to start looking for a practice.
So you are going to quit in about 2 weeks, did you say?
Yeah, yes.
So you're going to hang a shingle?
Yes, dude. I wanted to.
Oh my God, you got guts, girl. All right. Okay.
I was 4 years as an associate. For me, that was enough.
Before though, did you look at any practices to purchase, or did you just say, listen, I'm going to do this my own way from day one?
Yes, once I got the green card, I started looking for practices.
Okay.
And I knew what I wanted. You see, everything I plan, I like to have a second plan. I don't like to just have one. I have to have 2 plans.
We call that Plan B. Go ahead.
Plan B, yeah. So if that one doesn't work out, I have another one to follow.
Okay.
And I like to think in advance and to plan strategically time-wise. And I started looking to see what would be the best areas to raise my children. And then I came across somebody who was starting to be a real estate agent, and she told me Arlington Heights and Park Ridge. Those are really good areas here in Chicago suburbs.
I'm familiar with them.
And then we looked at the map of Arlington Heights and see what are the best school districts. And then we narrow it down on the streets, and then we narrow it down what practices are in that location.
Okay,
So,
people, if you don't get the idea that Madalina is a planner, then you are not paying attention. But you know what though?
For me.
but no, I'm not criticizing at all. Believe me, you have a plan, and I think it really helps when you have a plan. If it's willy-nilly, you're playing with your life. You're playing with the lives of your children and your husband. And you're also wise beyond your years because you're thinking of the best place for my children to prosper, to have good education, and et cetera. That's your primary factor. That zeroes in on the map those neighborhoods that you want to look at. So basically, to me, the analogy is, do you build your barn first or do you build your house first? So you're really trying to build your house first, right? Take care of your family, take care of your kids. That's the priority. You have a husband who has the ability to earn probably a decent living as well. So that I'm sure helps a little. However, you still haven't found the practice yet. So talk about that now.
So I started asking around. There are these practice brokers, and I came across one that had a practice in Northwest suburbs. I said, okay, what is this practice about? And he told me there are two retiring twin doctors. And he introduced me to the doctors. And eventually, after some deliberation from the doctors, they gave me a call and told me that they will decide to sell to me.
So what was their age, if you don't mind?
75.
75. God bless them. So now, did they want out like in a short amount of time?
Remember, they were twins, right? So there are two brains. One wanted out and one didn't.
Wow, 75.
Yes.
Again, so one wants to stay. If I understand it, they're both selling you ownership of the practice, correct?
Correct. They had two practices. They had two offices.
Oh, two completely separate offices.
Yes, but they made the taxes were together for the both offices.
Okay.
So now we were two buyers for the two offices. They had to split the taxes and calculate exactly how much to sell each practice for.
So you have to have two purchase agreements? You're buying two practices?
No, just one for the location. And the other doctor bought the other practice. So it was just two separate practices. However, the taxes were made by the doctors together for the offices.
But in the end, there's a two-doctor practice that you're going to become the boss, right? And if the doctor wants to stay, he's going to work for you, correct?
No.
Okay.
No. At that time, I used a very good lawyer, and he advised me not to have the owners stay over the sale, after the sale. And also not to advise the staff or the patients way ahead of time of the sale.
Okay. But if he had stayed, he would have been an employee, right?
Yes, but they didn't want to. They eventually didn't want to work with me.
But he has told you he wants to continue working, right?
There were discussions between them, among them. Like they eventually they had to agree to sell completely and just retire.
Gotcha. But so in the process, though, you got to protect your purchase, right? So did you have some type of covenant so that he couldn't open up across the street, that kind of stuff?
Yes, of course. We had a really strong agreement, and the other practice was sold about the same time. The doctor that bought the other practice moved the patients to another location, and unfortunately, I think he lost almost all his patients.
So wait, what other practice? I thought you bought both practices.
No, I bought one of the two.
Okay,
and,
so the second one, he didn't sell it?
He sold, there were two doctors, Dr. Goldbergs. They had two practices, one that I bought, and then another doctor that bought the other practice. So
Gotcha.
the sale of the two practices happened at the same time.
Okay.
The retiring doctors, they did not work at all anymore, or at least that's what they told me. I have no proof if they worked or not. So I did have an agreement with them not to work on patients and to just completely retire.
Okay. So you're buying this practice.
Yes.
Now, do the practices share space, share walls?
So I had no, the two practices are in two different cities.
Okay.
20 miles away.
Okay.
20 miles away. I kept the staff.
What did the practice look like from a financial standpoint? What were the numbers that it was producing?
It sounded pretty solid to me. They were producing approximately $500,000.
Okay, so $500,000 for your practice, right?
Yes. And about $200,000 for the other one.
Okay. Do you have any idea what they were like, what he was bringing home, what his net was?
Don't remember.
All right.
They
But I
were,
mean,
but they weren't that much.
you want to
Not,
share
not,
how much it cost you to buy that $500,000?
yes, 325. And there's
325. Okay.
not
Honestly,
want to negotiate.
but honestly though, if he's doing 500 and he's making, let's say it's 50%, he's making 250. He sold it for about 1.5 times his net. That's not terrible, right? 150 and 75 is 325. That's not a bad thing. When you looked at it, right? Because you have a definite plan of how you want your practice to look. I know that from talking to you. So what did you see in the practice? Like with let's talk about just the practice itself, the equipment, the rooms, the decor. What did you see?
They were outdated.
All
However,
outdated, everything.
yes. However, they were still functional.
Okay, yeah, that not to be discounted.
No, they were
It's
still
functional.
functional.
You could go in
And
there and you could work and you
yeah,
could hopefully produce what he's producing, maybe more. What did you see in terms of his practice mix? What were the procedures that he was doing?
mostly composites, crowns, some implant crowns, just implant crowns, regular cleanings.
Okay.
No, all the extractions were referred, all the deep cleanings were referred out.
Okay. Now, are these
So,
things that you do in your skills?
so when I started, I had endo skills, but I didn't really enjoy doing endo. So I was my own boss. I said, I can stop doing endos now.
You weren't going to start doing that, but you could do, obviously, you could do the composites, the crowns,
Yes.
the extractions.
Yes, I became the owner, but however, the practice and the previous staff drove me for a while.
Oh, of course they did.
I
'Cause
had
they worked for how long for this guy?
for a long time,
So they were used to doing things a certain way.
Yes. As I came in, I said, okay, let's do meetings, let's do education, continuing education, and let's do training. Got a lot of pushback from them. And it was very hard in the first few years. I had no leadership skills, no management skills, no financial skills, nothing. I only had clinical skills. I didn't even know how to look at the reports in Eaglesoft. But I knew that I wanted to be a practice owner and I wanted to do the things my way. So I learned as I was a mother of very young children, 1 and 1.5, and a husband that was working far away, like an hour and a half from where we live, then I had to learn the hard way. My husband was very helpful in the beginning and even throughout the years that we've been together, very helpful in helping me manage the practice.
What were the first 3 or 4 things you wanted to do to modify or change the practice?
I wanted to have some training for the staff. I wanted to do training for the front desk, change the way they answer the phones. One was more receptive than the other. The one that was not receptive, I had to keep her on for about 5 years till the COVID hit. First of all, I took inventory of everything that was in my practice. I needed to know everything about my practice, so I know how to run it. Like I said, planning for the future. When that was done, and then I realized what skills they have and what they don't have, I talked to them and I tried to get them to be on board. However, because the things were done a certain way for a very long time, the change was very slow. Okay. My front desk quit in about 1.5 years because I started being in network. When I bought the practice, it was a fee-for-service practice. My patients were leaving. Okay, I lost about 1/3 of the practice. The reason for losing the patients, I believe, was the drastic change from 2 male doctors to a female foreigner doctors. Also, coming from Colorado dental school instead of University of Chicago or Illinois dental school, nobody heard about Colorado. I always got these questions. How many years of experience you have? How old are you? Is it a good school? Is Colorado a good school? So these things were like every day when I first met my patients. So I had to learn to get thick skin and just push through and get on with my treatments. Many of the patients that I had in the beginning, they're still staying with me. Some of them, of course, I lost during the first period of first 6 months. I've lost probably 1/3 of the practice. The other ones stayed because they liked me. My pros was that I was a woman and I had smaller hands than the male doctors.
So you see a pretty good attrition, right? A little more than you expect. I think
Yes.
I've always heard 10 to 20% you can expect in most any transition, so you have a little bit more. So you decided to change the business model a little bit and then you go in network with some plans. What size staff was there?
So there were 2 front desk, 1 hygienist, and 1 assistant.
2 front desk, 1
2 front
hygienist,
desk.
1 assistant.
Yes. So one
That's
of the
interesting.
assistants became front desk. She told me she doesn't want to do assisting anymore. and she wants to be front desk.
What was your long-term vision for the practice? Are you going to remodel? Are you going to add rooms? What was your thoughts when you stepped back in your plans? What was your plans for the practice?
Yes. So when I first started, I was just happy that I was an owner. I started earning more money than I did before. And luckily, we bought the house that we have 2 minutes away from the practice. What I wanted to do was to start learning how to be a practice owner, how to be a manager.
So you have the practice.
Yeah. And I started changing I wanted to update the instruments. I wanted to, like I said, change the composite, change the lights, change little things that I could change.
What year did you buy the practice?
2014.
2014. Okay. And you still have this practice, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So take us to COVID. Where were you at with COVID? How much had you done by the time COVID had hit by 2020? How many things had you made changes for?
I believe I changed 2 chairs. I bought 2 new chairs. I bought some new equipment, and that was about it.
Okay.
Then when COVID hit, remember I had to pay my student loan.
Yes.
We had to pay the loan for the practice. So in the first 5 to 7 years, I couldn't do much in the office. I couldn't expand too much.
Now, is that the term, or is that because did you accelerate your payments? What kind of notes did you take? What kind of debt service did you look at?
So we had a student loan for me was the $150,000. Actually, no, it was $75,000.
Okay, was that over 5 years, 10 years, or what was that?
Yeah, something like that. 10 years. 10 years.
How about the practice purchase? What did that loan look like?
It took me about 8 years and a half to pay it off, but we paid a bit more than the 10 years.
Okay, so you had 2 10-year loans almost, right, that are running.
Yes.
All right, that makes perfect sense. Keep things going as best you can. Try to increase it. Now, when you made those changes to the business model, did it work out in your favor, or did you go back to a non-insurance model?
No, I first started with being in network with MetLife, and that was paying not very well, but it was paying fast. So the reason for going in network and basically losing money, because I was fee for service, was that I wanted to keep the patients and I wanted to grow the practice. Slowly, I added every other year or 2 years, I added another insurance. I did negotiate the prices with some insurances. The front desk was telling me, do not go in network, stay out of network because you're losing money. So I couldn't really grow my practice staying out of network, and my practice was in the basement, and I couldn't really grow. Eventually, another change came, and COVID hit, hard time for everybody, including me. I didn't bring back the hygienist. I didn't bring back one of the front desks. Actually, I fired the hygienist before the COVID. I was left with one assistant, one front desk. Sometimes I was just be by myself doing the cleanings, instruments, and stuff like that. So there were quite a few years after the COVID that I had a hard time getting staff. Even now, we don't have a hygienist permanently. A year ago, almost maybe 2 years ago, the landlord comes in and he says, you are in breach of your lease. I'm like, how? Because I already paid. We had this lease 5 years, and then every 5 years it would renew. But I said, I continue to pay your monthly rent. Yes, but you didn't give me notice that you want to continue the lease. You didn't give me the proper notice. What do you mean proper notice? That's a piece of advice for future owners. Read the lease carefully, because if you don't give the notification through certified mail, it's not considered official. My building eventually got demolished, and I got moved into the new location. And the landlord eventually contributed a significant amount of money to build out of the new practice. So where I'm right now, I'm in the new practice. And in 2 days, I will celebrate 1 year since I moved here.
So you're almost 1 year in your new location.
Yes.
Look back to where you were and where you are. Give me a comparison.
I have grown a lot as a owner, as a woman, and I think as a manager too.
What does the practice look like? What did it go? What did it go from? What were you doing and what are you doing now?
So I was doing around, at some point, I was doing 350 in the lowest, 350, 375, 4. Last year I did 440, and now we're growing. The reason for growing is that I signed up with more insurances. I did not sign up just like I did in the past. I hired a company to negotiate the prices. And that opens up the whole new world for me, because I have more new patients than I've ever had, and I'm getting paid a little bit better. So my practice is growing right now.
What would your advice be to a younger dentist or a newer dentist or any dentist who might be considering, especially a woman, might be considering buying a practice? What would you tell them?
It's doable to be a mother, to be a wife, to be a business owner. And every day it's a new day that we can learn. Every day has to be a day. If you haven't learned anything that day, that means you lost it. If it's a day where you didn't work in the practice and you didn't work in the house and for the family, you lost. I say focus as much time as you do in the practice for the family. Give the same amount of time. I work 4 days a week. I've always worked 4 days a week, and I give 3 days for my family. I don't mix the two, and I do not want to work Saturdays or Sundays or any other weekends because my family is important as well.
What were some of the unique challenges that you faced that other people may face?
Maybe the fact that I was a woman and I was a foreigner, at least from me saying that. Other people say, no, you're fine. You're speaking well. I did actually take some English classes before I bought the practice because I wanted to make sure that I am up to the par to be an owner and to present myself properly to the people that I was going to treat.
Okay, so you recognize it and then you got some training on it. So
yes.
For anybody, that could be a multitude of different things, right?
Yeah.
So that's really good advice. Any other pieces of advice?
It was just so you know that when you are the owner, you are the smartest in the practice. You are the smartest and you are lonely because you cannot go to the staff and ask their opinion about this or that. They will not recognize you as a leader. Employees are not your friends. Do not gossip. As an owner, do not gossip about any of the employees. Do not gossip about any of the patients in front of anybody else. Do not bring problems from home to work. Always come well-dressed to work. My assistant for the past 10 years, she said, I really liked when you really dressed up well. Like, I really felt like I worked for a nice boss. At that time, I was wearing scrubs and I was coming in with sneakers, okay? So I changed because the staff, they need to look up to you as an owner. Appearance is important in dentistry. We have to be able to speak properly. We have to be able to present ourselves properly. My trusted assistant and front desk, Erica, she says, you gotta be more straightforward. You gotta tell them, like, this is the treatment plan. Be more direct, be more stern. Patients will listen to you better. Stay straight when you speak to the staff and when you speak to the patients, look them in the eye.
Beautiful. I can't add anything to that. I want to thank you for your time and your expertise. I think there's some beautiful pearls of wisdom right there for anybody. It doesn't have to be male or female. It's just a matter of ownership. And I think your point is so important of they're not your friends, your team. They're not your friends. You have to maintain that professional relationship because once you cross that, it's very hard to go back. There's a way to have a professional relationship outside of the office, but I think the keyword is having a professional relationship. So, thank you so much. If people want to get a hold of you and reach you, how can they reach you?
They can reach me on my website, dentalclinique.us, or my email, madalina.ivan1@yahoo.com.
Dental Clinique, CLINIQUE.US.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing with all of us your journey. Much luck, much success. If I can be of any help to you, I would be happy to help. So
thank you so much, Doctor, for having me tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
This has been a production of Dentistry in General Radio Network. Visit our website, dentistryingeneral.com, to join engaging clinical and business conversations, explore our dental podcasts, and stay updated on our upcoming live events.